Hi everyone. Um, Today is Sunday, June the 29th, and I am working in the background to try to get Mo to join us. But I gotta tell you, this OBS technology is not my strong suit, and I'm locked in a terminal loop. And so I am trying to get him in. In the meantime, we will get started. So let's go to, oh my goodness, I just want to make sure that I have our, uh-oh. I want to make sure that I have the chat up, and then we'll just jump right into things. Um, yeah. All right, let's turn that off. And so, okay, couple of things that I want to do tonight. I want to first show you all of the indicators that I use on TopstepX. And then we're going to jump right into, hang on 2 secs, and let's see if I have, oh, I apologize, folks. Can't control center. Still trying to work on it. Oh, wait a second, folks. Copy. Oh my. Hang on 2 secs. I might have something here. Hang on. Hang on. I think I might have found a way in with Mo. So I'm going to talk in the background, but I'm going to put this screen back up. I'm here in the background. I just want to see, I think I see Mo's screens for sure. So that's awesome. So what we're going to do is get this over and let me see if I can get this. Okay. Hang on. Okay. Let's copy this and let's add another browser. And then let's do this and see. Okay, I'm on a local network. Oh my gosh, Mo, I got your charts. Okay, so now I need to figure out how to make those a primary. Okay, all right. Well, that's the first part. I don't have Mo's face though, so I don't know how to do that part. And I need to make sure that I can hear audio. Control audio via OBS. And, oh my word. All right. Okay, so my apologies. Let's see what we got going on here. We've got me and Mo chatting. We got this. Okay, perfect. Now I have Mo's screen up here, so I don't know how to widen that. I got, maybe. I just want to see if I can put him in a primary form. All right, let's move this down. What? No. Well, I gotta tell you, folks, no bueno, no bueno at this. So let's get our chit chat back up. What is happening to Palantir? I will tell you, I did look at Palantir at the close yesterday. It's yesterday on Friday, and I saw more than 7 million shares pass through at 4:30 in the afternoon, which not good, not good. So Mo, I'm going to have to send you this is your stream link. How do I do that? Let me see if I can add that up. You know what, Mo? I'm going to apologize to you with the deepest sincerity and beg you to stay online with me, and I will send a note and tell everyone what's going on. And gee whiz, I just don't know how to run this. I don't. So let me try and get through this first part. I'll come over to you to the next part and we'll work it out. So here's what's going on. Let's move this over a bit. I can read this a little bit better. Okay. All right. So as we learn to use TopstepX better, what I'm going to do is just, I'm going to go to the charts and I'm going to remove all the indicators so that we could just see just the regular price action and the Fibonacci that we have down here. That's a range. I don't need that. Well, what I want to do is show you how I set my charts up, and so you can replicate it and then save a copy of it. Just call it AM, whatever. I don't have Hope's number to call him on a Sunday night. So let's just move forward, and then we will make sure that this never happens again so that we can get the folks moving like they're supposed to be. All right, so first thing, here are the indicators that I have up, right? I have a number of them that I like to use, but the first one that we're going to put on is the moving average. And for me, this moving average looks like this. Oops, sorry. The moving average looks like this. Settings, I have an 8 and a 30. Smoothing line is the SMA. So that's what you're seeing. The 8 is the orange line. The 30 is the smooth moving average. It's much bigger than in terms of size of the moving averages than a lot of the traders use. But as you know, I have a very wide angle look at the charts that help me do what I do during the day. So the next indicator I use is a super trend. So here are the indicators for the super trend on the settings. Whoops. The super trends I have as 2 and 6. I think the default is something like 3 and 8. I like to see the rhythm a little bit tighter. I have an up arrow and a down arrow. And I use the step line with diamonds, so it gives me the relative line in the sand that we're looking at. So that's really all I have at the top. On the bottom, I use a Williams %R, and I use the stochastic RSI. Sometimes I use the ergodic, but they're about the same. So here's the Williams %R that I use. I have -15 on the low end. Excuse me, -85 on the low end, -15 on the high end. I use a 21 because I don't like to see a lot of wiggles. All right, you can make it tighter if you like, but that's what I use. The second thing for my RSI, I use the RSI and the stochastic almost the same. I use the smoothing lengths almost the same. If you increase the smoothing lengths, it'll show distance, more distance between one and the other. It really, you have to decide what you want to do there. All right, so that's really all that I use during the course of the day, except for, of course, volume. And so if you replicate that, you can just say, save a copy of this chart and its indicators, and you could call it AM. And if you want to see what my symbols and trading structure looks like during the day, if you're like, I wonder if that's showing up the way she could do it, you can open that one, and at the same time, you know, you could put the levels up, you can see what's happening. You save it in a copy to the side, and anytime during the day / week, you can look and go, oh, I see how that's moving. So I really did want to show that to you. From a weekly perspective,
the market is open.
And we just had the market open. From a weekly perspective, we have, oops, I'm going to delete those for now. We have very upward formations. This is a really big weekly candlestick. Not that we haven't had them in the past, but it really is a significant move. But you'll notice how tight the expected moves are. We've had the volatility of volatility, that's the VVIX. We've had it fall, and so as it falls, volatility itself also tends to compress, and when volatility compresses, the weekly expectations of the ranges also compress. So let's stare down what we are looking at. You know, I use the hourly chart. The weekly expected move is 6,284 for the week on the upside. On the downside, 6138. And that tells us that the option traders have positioned to sell the calls at or around 6284, or sell the puts at around 6138. Now, you might remember the last time we talked that when we come into these moves, it is not an automatic reversal event. What it is an area that tells you there's going to be a fight. What the fight does is determine if there's too much upward pressure that's going to stop those moving averages from, stop those traders from actually benefiting from the sold calls, and it's going to shoot up. So what normally happens is it shoots above the line, it comes below the line, and if it stays below the line, it makes a great short. If it doesn't, it tells you that motion is going to force the traders on the back foot, and it looks more like a liquidity squeeze or a short squeeze to the upside. All right, of course, short squeezes only occur to the upside, but that's what that is. And the term short squeeze means that sellers have positioned themselves on the wrong side, and they have to turn around and buy the market up. And it's called a short squeeze because they're squeezing the shorts into a pain point where they have to turn around and go, I've got to get out of here. Same thing on the bottom. If the short puts get broken through, the people who are long, essentially, which is being short puts is the same as being long in terms of delta. And if it breaks the level and continues, all the longs are going to have to puke and we'll see liquidation. What I want to do, I was talking to a trader that is in the Topstep community. She's One Tired Teacher is her name, and she was saying, hey, sometimes a lot of terms get thrown out here and I have no idea what they all are. And so little by little, we're going to put those pieces together as we build our setups. So what does the current environment tell us? Well, the first thing is that big trend is up. That's the 30. I like to use the 63 simple moving average on my TrainSpider platform, but here I've got 30 just to make it simple. I don't want a lot of lines just getting in the way and giving us trouble, right? I just don't want to do that. So our 8 is a little bit flat, and our 30 is up. Now, I want to explain to you how I use super trend. Okay? So first thing is, thanks, Beth. I appreciate it. The first thing about super trend is that it tells us in general two things when you use a step formation. It tells you how to raise your stop if you're long in a position. It also tells you if it hits a high and stops going higher, the first thing it's going to do within a trend that's long is go down and hunt for support. You'll notice that all of a sudden the super trend has turned red. I have a pink line here, but it's a resistance line at the top of this formation. Once it breaks it, it's going to break it and retest it. And if it holds this line as support, it will turn blue again. So what do we notice and what do we think about when we use Supertrend? I find Supertrend to be very helpful for two reasons. One, it tells you how to raise your stop. So legitimately, you could be in a move that is on any time frame that you want, and as you move up, you can see where to raise your stop. And you'll notice if you had been using Supertrend on Friday, you would have been stopped out at the failure of that line, which tells you, ruh-roh, you have broken old resistance that became support. And so it tells you to get out of the trade. Now, here's the thing. If that 30 simple moving average is up and your 8 is up, all the traders are doing is hunting for support. It's still very bullish. So what do we like to do? Two things I like to do when I'm setting up. One, I like to draw a box around the highest volume candlestick of the prior day. Notice we've had 2 days of buying, right? And then another big candlestick of buying. Then I like to put an anchored VWAP on it. And the anchored VWAP is here at 6,207. So what is the chart telling us right now? It's actually telling us that we're in a decision zone. And that decision zone tells us trend is up, momentum is up, and both of my momentum indicators are up. So I like to do it in a little bit of an overlay, but we can't do that quite yet in Topstep. So we look at the two of them and go, all right, let's see what's going on. This stochastic is not showing a ton of strength. The Williams R is showing strength. So that's divergence. The two of them are not showing anything. My thought is the following. Pullbacks or buy zones. Ideal pullback is really going to be at about $6,205. the halfway spot there. It also jams us into this big support zone that we can see from the left. And the expected moves for today, for the trading day ahead, 6,245 on the upside, 6,100, I'm blind, 6,194 on the downside. Right now, they're fleshing things out. A lot of the news is bullish. Don't try to short this. If you want to short this, the place to try the short is near the high. And so, you know what? I'll put one there for us. While we're working through the trades, we'll see what triggers. All right? So, but you don't want to put it underneath this super trend line simply because it could easily come into that line and pull back a little bit and then rocket to the moon. So you're looking at that area. My thought would be, hey, listen, long action is what we're going to see. So far, the bottom of the expected move is 6,222. And what I want to do is put a stop by here because I don't want it to run away from me in any grand fashion, right? Because it could continue to rocket to the north. This is a counter trend trade, no doubt about it. All right, let's take a look at the NQ. All right, first thing I'm going to do is let's go to the weekly. We're going to see price action is really bullish. I need to take this Fibonacci out here. Price action is really bullish. Look at the volume underneath here. Huge volume candlestick still from April the 7th. Weekly formations. Look at where the support is on the weekly chart. It's 2,000 points away in our super trend, right? So here's something very interesting. You can also use the old resistant lines in your super trend short action to create new support lines for your super trend long action that is in play. So what does that mean? That means this line here became a support area at 21,440, and then the support line moved up. So you can continually, if your super trend is far away, you can go to the left and look for where the bearish formations are and simply walk them up as they go to the next step when you go, all right, now I know what my support is. So this chart is telling us, hey, listen, 22,098, no, more than that, 22,125 is our general support mode. So we can see very bullish. Daily, look at the super trend. I mean, the last time we had bearish action is way over here on the daily formation. So this chart is really running. When we go to the 1 hour, let's take a look at the weekly expected move. What you can do, the high of the weekly expected move this week, 23,036. The low of the weekly expected move, 22,464. The daily expected move is, let's expand that a little bit, 22,857. The daily expected move on the downside, 22,951. What are we looking at? Momentum is telling us that this move here was pretty sharp. And so now it's curving out, trying to hold the floor of support. We broke through the 30 and then completely recovered the 8. Same formation as the NQ, with the super trend above showing that there's potential resistance sitting here. All right, we have a 4-day week ahead of us, and so that might be something that is troublesome if we are thinking that we're going to have ourselves a nice, easy move to the upside. Could easily be that way. I would suspect more chop, but truly, I have suspected more chop for 3, 4, 5 days. We just haven't had as much chop, a lot of bullish pressure. We are above the 8 and with an upward sloping 30. That tells us the pullbacks are buy zones. Whereas the pullback in this formation, we're going to use this line, and that's 22,691. Okay, you know I like to look for that hour to converge. But what I thought I would do today is Coach Paul likes to use the 30-minute one. I'm going to look at that a little bit and see what we see in the grand scheme of things in terms of what's going on. Where would the short be with this kind of motion? I would say the double topping event here, 22,811, something like that. Do I want to put one on there? I don't. I want to watch. I want to watch that one. Let's go to the YM. Okay, so the YM, go to the weekly chart. You can see in weeks past, we've run right through. We are sitting in heavy congestion. We really are. So the big move here, YM only gives us monthly expected moves. Top of the range, 46,750. Bottom of the range, 41,720. What are we doing? Well, our 30 is flat, but it's coming from an upward space, certainly. It's flattened out. Our momentum is positive. Here we had, let's do this, we had a big chop of heavy congestion. I always think that that's really important to look at the heavy congestion because it's inventory accumulation, and now they're distributing it at a profit, right? They're distributing inventory at a profit because we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days of accumulation and then broke out right here at 43,335. Let's go to the daily. So if we take a look at the daily, notice this area, old resistance, look at how it's looking like support for the super trend. It's telling us it's upside. A lot of things going on to the upside. We can see momentum is strong. Now, momentum is in a space that the last time it was there, it rotated over in both areas. We were close to the moving average. We rotated over. We're doing the same sort of thing right here. Here's the difference. If you stare down formations that look like this, and all of a sudden your momentum stays in the overbought area, it does not mean that you go, oh, I got to short this. The way you look at your short is by realizing any short I have in the formation where I'm above both my moving averages, it's only going to be into support, and then it's going to rise into the next level. And so that's what we're staring down. Pretty upward flow. And you know we can look to the left of the prior areas to give us where our next lines in the sand are. Let's take a look at what is happening here. Here's our 1 hour chart. Momentum is up. Trend is up. See how it's broken the high of this area? It's moving to the upside. Notice the green arrow takes over. And now the next line that's going to plot is a blue line that's moving to the north, right? That's giving us our support zone where the buyers are saying to the sellers, you can't head lower. Let's go to some questions. You need to do a morning show and call it something like AM in the AM or AM squared. You know, I actually do a morning video. It's on my YouTube channel, but I also put it in the Coach Anne Marie channel on Topstep, on the Topstep Discord, so you can see that. Undetermined, yes, thank you very much for that name. Yeah, you can check that out there. Does anyone know? You know what, Victor? Try going to support. Yes. Thank you, Andrew. Good to see you. Good to see you. Um, any other questions here? Do I happen to have a good delta footprint setup for Motive Wave? I actually do, GDL. And if you want to DM me in Discord, I'll share it with you. Okay? Um, yeah, we'll do that. The goal is, can we use the tools that we have currently here in Topstep to give us what we need to advance without adding too much external noise, right? So that's going to be the goal here. All right, so I gave us the upside and downside here. It's still trending, dips or buy zones. The risk event for a long in the YM is not insignificant in my mind. It's all the way down at 44,040. So that's almost 300 points of risk. It's 300 ticks of risk. And so I would not buy the high here. I would let it rotate back into one of the higher super trend support zones and try it there. Okay? All right, let's go to micro Bitcoin, one of my favorite things to trade. And let's just take a look at it on a weekly perspective. If this doesn't scream sideways noise to you, I'm really not sure what does. But on a weekly perspective, we've got an upward sloping 30, an upward sloping 8, an anchored VWAP off of the last high showing support edges around 106,000, and we've got a lot of wicks. So these wicks tell us there's a fight club above us and below us. That's something very, very important to look at on a weekly perspective. On the daily perspective, you can see that we've got lower highs and lower lows in a bullish space at this time. Notice this piece is bullish. So this could easily be some kind of flag pattern. It could easily be some kind of inverted head and shoulders pattern. Something like that, right? We have no idea specifically what we're looking at other than it's pretty noisy, right? Super trend all over the place. Breaking down and breaking out and then collapsing right back into the range, okay? So again, I want to share with you, if you want to use super trend, your moving average, the 30, will tell you if the pink line that says this is going to roll over is actually a valid one or not. And when you've got a moving average that is up, do not take the first break of those because they're just hunting for support. That's all that's happening. All right, let's go to the 1 hour and see what micro Bitcoin's got for us. Top of the range. Wow, this is a box of noise. Moving average flat, both of them. Momentum up under flat moving averages tell me that I likely have a short up here. I'm going to do that. I'm going to start selling one up there at 108,950. See if it comes to the top. We can see why I would choose to trade at the edges of these, simply because my moving average is giving me what that looks like. Okay? All right. There we have it. Expected moves. Let's go over those. The weekly expected move for Bitcoin, 111,210. That's on the high side. On the low side, 103,950. For the daily move, we've got 109,520 on the high end and 105,000, what is that number? 105,910. Okay? Nice bounce. Thin volume, upward momentum. I think it punches out and then rotates back. All right, let's take a look at copper. Copper had a very big move this past week. And so in discussing things with Deanna about what copper has a tendency to do, we do expect some kind of retrace. The high expected move for copper at the next expiration is 5.46. The low is 4.79. I'm going to wait for the floor of that formation to, I have not checked gold yet. I'll be there in about 4 charts. That low expected move is where I would love to see an opportunity to buy. That's where I would like to go. It's got weeks and weeks of support. And if it retraces and comes into the center of the formation, I'm going to love it. So that's what's going on with copper. Let's go to the hourly chart. Very tight. Remember, this gets priced in 10,000ths of a penny. And take a look. See the resistance area. Notice this. See this super trend line at the high there? It's telling us the old resistance zone. And if you've got trend that's been up, that flattens out, and all of a sudden it bounces to the north again, you can see where those resistance patterns sit by engaging the information that the super trend is telling you. Okay, so that being said, that's that. Let's go to nat gas. All right. Well, that's another one Deanna thought we would have a pretty solid fade on. Nat gas is in just a monster of a box. The expected moves on the high end, 3.94 or so. Low of the expected move, 3.54. And it's got sideways to uptrend on the 30 simple moving average, and the 8 is sharply down. So we've got a cross current, right? It shows shorting action, but again, look at where the risk event is for the short. And there's no super trend indicator in between those two. So this would be tough to short if you're not thinking about going really close into that line below. And as it moves down, you can see it's walking through a ton of noise. I would like to look for it at a much deeper level of support if it loses that 3.54. Let's look at oil. A lot of the geopolitical risk has come out of the oil chart. The weekly expected move is now really normal. Last Sunday, it was like $7 or $8. This Sunday, we're looking at it, it's 68.18 for the upside, and the downside is 62.17. And look at where we are, right in the middle of the garbage zone. High of the daily expected move, 65.86. Low of the expected move, 64.37. We go to the daily. You can see that the traders are looking to pull back a lot. Let's do a Fibonacci here. Right, high to low. 50% is just above us where we rejected it. What to do? Let's put, no, we got it. That's the anchored VWAP right there, right up at the expected move. It could move in any direction, folks. And right now, when it's sitting in this 5-day motion like that, I would say a buy stop above 66.55 or a sell stop at 63.13. But in between there, that's going to be pretty noisy. That's not setting up to be something beautiful at all. It's very rangy. Notice how you can tell a chart's in range. If your super trend looks like this, it's telling you here's what to watch, right? Here's what to watch. Right now, it's hunting support. That's the downward motion of the super trend. So you're looking to the left of the other areas to take profit because you want to move in the direction of trend. Momentum is down, trend is down. I'd like to see it come down into the 64 area and bounce. I'm not really sure if it'll actually do that. It might continue to fade, at which point it could go to 54. All right, let's go to gold. All right, gold having a nice sell-off, but let's take a look at what's really happening here. Okay, so here's the storyboard with gold, and this is gold on a weekly chart. And we're going to see this storyboard just by what we're looking at. First of all, big move up. Let's go all the way down here. We had a move up, small dip down, and then sideways consolidation from March to February of the following year. Gold moves sideways. Next big move up, consolidation event from April of 2024 to the breakout zone, to the breakout zone in September of 2024, sideways. Big breakout, completely retraces all of it to the last congestion space. So we have two heavy congestion zones. This second one occurs from September all the way to December 2024. Huge move to the upside, small pullback, huge move to the upside. And since April, sideways. Sideways motion. Where is the last breakout?
Order filled.
Oh, okay, there we go. I just got filled. So where do we see the next breakout? We see the next breakout likely either below 3130 on the weekly chart or above 3505. And right now, the chart is telling me I've got sideways motion. I have sideways motion here sitting in my chart. And we're used to seeing it go from April to September to break out a little bit into November and then give all of it back to come into the top of the range. So that's the big picture. Write it down in your notes. Let's see what kind of stop I need to put here in the ES. We'll look at a 30-minute chart and see how that's going. Let's move this out because my stop is sitting right there. I can live with that. Where do I want to go? Let's go to, let's just take 18 ticks. See if it comes into our super trend last support zone. Okay, let's go back to gold and finish our storyboard there. So what we know about gold, based on the past, is that we're going to have ourselves a nasty, congested pocket that could really retrace down into the 3100s before it starts lifting again and breaking out. Okay, so Let's go to our 1 hour chart and see what we have going on. What is this? Right? We can see from the 30 it's downward trend, but if you ever doubt your moving averages, if you ever go, yeah, but what's really happening here? You can use a simple trend line and draw it and go, oh, okay, well, lower highs, lower lows. I guess I need to wait for the bounce to sell. I mean, it's really as simple as that. So, what's the weekly expected move for the charts here? On the upside, 3,335. Low of the expected move, 3,237. Daily expected move, they expect us to be around 3,314. We already broke the low of the daily expected move at 3,261, and now it's bouncing. Here's what I want to show you. This is perfect that it's coming up. I want to show you how you might be able to use your formations when you've got your daily expected move event and you collapse down into a 5-minute. Now, no matter how many times I tell traders, listen, don't use these daily expected move levels as areas to initiate a trade in the opposite direction. Just don't do it, okay? But a lot of them will. So here's what I want to show you. Notice on the 5-minute, it completely breaks that expected move. Is there something that tells you, whoa, I might break that expected move event? Why? Yes, there is. What is it? Number one, your super trend is down. There's your 5-minute chart. Super trend is down. 2, your momentum is very much in the low edge of the formations. Your 8 simple moving average is resistance, and that is a very tight simple moving average. If you don't follow it, that's a rough thing. So what it's telling us is right now, if it falls through the floor and it's low here, you better not put a buy order right here because it's probably going to break it. Now here's the beauty. The moment it retraces and opens up a candlestick or traces through that daily expected move, you can take a counter trend long trade into resistance. Now, where is that? It's the high of the prior candlestick for part 1, and 2, the first edge of the super trend into the resistance zone that is going to give you likely another opportunity to either get out of the trade or make it a short or, whatever you want to do, right? But that's how you use that. It's very simple. Let the chart tell you what to do. Don't let your mind go crazy thinking about X, Y, or Z. Just simple Simon. Just be a simple Simon and you're going to get it. You're absolutely going to get it. My problem when I trade is that I overthink everything. That's number 1. And number 2, I have a tendency to trade a reversion to the mean. Now, that's what would make me put a short up there in the ES, up at that very top. But the number 1 thing that I do that keeps me in the game, I'm always managing my risk. So my stop is very tight. And that's really, really important. Yes, the ES did fill. The ES did fill. All right. Let's take a look at silver. Also another contract I absolutely love trading. Here's what I want to tell you. This also trades at 10,000ths of a penny. Do not leave your desk if you're trading silver because it's probably going to hurt you. You just trade level to level and you get out and that's all she goes because it's a very expensive contract to trade. You could trade micro silver using the same mechanical flow. So on the weekly chart, we have silver on the updraft, right? We know gold is going to be in a sideways pocket, so we're going to anticipate the same thing about silver. We're going to anticipate the same thing. We have to get confirmation that we're moving in the right direction. And we don't have it yet, right? Notice this is the high. This area right here says, if we break and hold that zone, it's going to stay along. But right now, it's got resistance up at $36.60, support all the way down at $32.90. You have to have a big account. And I can tell you personally, one of the worst, most disastrous futures trades I ever had was in silver. It's also one of the best ones. And so it's tremendous if you get it in the direction and it's going in that flow. So if we go to the daily chart, we can see it's had a topping formation. It's rotating over. The average expected move is $38.37 on the upside, $34.20 on the downside. Notice old resistance also sitting down there at $34.26. I'm going to put an alert on my chart to hold me into that space. That's what I'm going to be staring down. All right. Let's go see about setting up some 30-minute ranges and see how this works. So we can see this is dancing around, right? This is a big fight club right here. This is either I've been 3 ticks up, 2 ticks up, 5 ticks up, 3 ticks down, 1 tick down. So there's an argument here. I'm going to move my stop. I wonder if I should put a... I don't know what I want to do there. Let me take a look at this. Let's go to a 15-minute. Yeah, it's going to blow out of the top and then reverse. So why don't we try this? All right, so if it pops out of there, it's going to reverse long, and we're going to take it into the daily expected move. We're going to use a sell order right there. So we're going to leave those set up. I know you're like, what are you doing? Okay, so here's what I'm doing. If this short doesn't work, because I have so much momentum here, if it breaks north here, it's going to run a ton of stops, likely to shoot into a higher high. And so that's what I'm staring down. And so I have 2 market buys on the stop that says, all right, I'll close out of the other one, and then I'll go long this one. Do it a little bit closer. And if that happens, I'm going to take it into this area at 62.45, and that's going to put me at a target into that top end, right? So that's what we're staring down. Okay, what did I want to do? Oh yes, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to the 30-minute and take a look at how Coach Paul might set up his trades. This trade would be triggering long for Paul, I think, up over the close of that 30-minute. I'd have to cover that with him, but that's what I'm seeing. I like to wait for the hour because it does have a tendency to change shape in that space, either breaking down, breaking out, doing one thing or another. So that being said, here's what I do next when I'm setting up a trade. I will go look for... I'll set up a long position that says my risk is going to be the width of the box. My entry, if I'm going long, my ideal entry is at the bottom of the box, right? Now, what our indicators are suggesting here is that we probably aren't going to get to the bottom of that box if it stays bullish. We'll just have to see what happens. But I'll use a long position, and then I'll position for short in the same group. Now, I like to wait for an hour. Coach likes to do 30 minutes. I don't know what other parameters he holds, but a lot of times we get very bored waiting for the first hour. So you can definitely do that for sure. You absolutely can do that for sure. All right. Well, here's the thing. Uptown Dunk. I like that name. ES stalling here. I like the short. Here's the rub about a short when a price action stalls, but it holds the ceiling. Excuse me, it holds the floor. When it holds the floor, what it's actually telling us is that I'm just gathering steam before I move to my next leg up. And so this concerns me. That's why my stop market buy, which closes me out of this trade and opens up a long one, will take me to the top of my box. So it always concerns me when I come into an area that should reverse, but it doesn't. Now I say should. I am in front of this move. Why? Look at where momentum is. It says strong trend. It says strong trend everywhere. I'm using the past behavior to say, hey, I think this is going to be a dip. These are the topping formations. I use the super trend to tell me where the price action reverses so that I'm not going to be thinking, oh, I wonder if it's along now. It's going to immediately do that for me. And I'm doing that because trend is so steep, because momentum is so high. Those are the things that would make me put a stop market buy. Will ESNQ just leave likely that opening gap alone? Okay. That's a good question. I have no idea of likely. Here's the thought. It will or it won't. What we have to do is, knowing that it will or it won't, can we position something that minimizes risk but allows us to maximize exposure? We don't know whether it will or it won't. So the question is, if I don't know whether it will or it won't, is there a trade that I can position for that will allow me to do that? And the answer is yes, right? If we're staring down our formations, let's say we're trading, I don't know, let me think. Let's do this. Let's leave that ES alone, and then let's go to MNQ, right? And let's take a look at the MNQ. All right, the MNQ on the 5-minute is saying the following. Right here is where the price action broke out, right? The first, let's go to the hourly first, right? We've got our super trend telling us we've got some resistance there, right? Got a ton of momentum. We had a breakdown action event, and then it completely recovered. So we know trend is very strong. If we're staring this chart down and we go, hey, I want to trade with trend. I don't want to trade a reversal trade. What does the price action tell you? It tells you your dips or buy zones. The question is, where's the best dip? And so for me, I like to look for heavy congestion to tell me where the best dip is. And if I'm looking at the 5-minute, it's going to be down here. If I want to stare down and get a little bit more aggressive because I think X, Y, or Z, whatever, I might go to the top of the box, right? But that's my structure. If I try to buy it on the moving average, I am expecting a very sharp upside pressure event, right? Now, I could do that. So let's say this holds the edge. Here's another thing I want to tell you. A lot of times in hindsight, and one tired teacher was talking to me about this, but I want to share it with you because a lot of us don't realize this. When we look at a trade and we say, I want to go long here, and we look at it at the end of the day and we go, oh my gosh, the moving average told me everything. Listen, these things don't plot until after the candle closes. So if this candle moves all the way down and closes here, the price action formation that you're going to see plotting this moving average is not going to look just like this. It's going to look different, okay? So if you're saying, hey, I want to buy that moving average, you could easily go, all right, I'm going to wait until it comes back. The more you chase a trade, the harder it is to get to a green space when you're doing your trade, right? Very, very important. Wait on the price levels. Now, if we use super trend on the 5-minute, it's telling us, hey, I'm trading on the 5-minute. I'm pulling back right here. My super trend tells me this is the most reliable support area that's going to be a stop zone. Now, you could easily say, well, I want to get in early. I'm going to go up ahead of it. You'll know where your stop is. It's going to be down in this area, right? Here's the next thing you can do. If you're staring this down and you go, oh, I wonder if it's going to break out, you can do a stop buy easily. What's your risk? It's going to be the bottom of the box. If you can't handle the risk of the stop buy, which is telling you, hey, be careful over here because it could fade for 30, 40 points, right? 30, yeah. It could fade quite a few points. You got to be careful if you want to do a stop market buy and chase it up. But why could you possibly do that? Momentum is very steep. Trend, very steep. There are things telling you, hey, you can trade with this formation outside of your 5 and just walk up your risk event. Okay? Top step tip. If you want your two... Donald, look at that. If you want your two bottom indicators in the same pane, click on the indicator line.
Order filled.
And move to the existing pane. Click right, and then, oh, is that it? Donald, I owe you a soda, friend. Look at that. Thank you so much. I appreciate that greatly. That's fantastic. All right, so you can see we have the order filled right here. Now my stop for this area, I'll just add to it here. My stop is going to be, because these filled, to give myself the proper range, my stop is going to have to be all the way down here, right? That's a lot of ticks. That's a lot of ticks. All right, what other questions do we have here? Anne-Marie, I like the setup. Thank you. I would wait for better price action. You know what? I feel you. I don't love this price action either. I just feel like I have to trade sometimes. And I have, that's the thing about going live a lot of times, right? And having a show, people want to see people trade. And so, a lot of times these setups are like garbage, literally, total garbage. And sometimes you just get a little bit over anxious to trade. Donald, I appreciate that so much. Let's see. Greg said that order filled notification scared me. I thought I had entered a trade. Okay, I feel you. I do, I feel you. The goal is to keep it simple, right? And get this, show your super trend settings again. All right, I absolutely will. Super trend 2 and 6. 2 and 6.
Order filled.
Okay, so now all my trades have turned around and I am both long the ES and the MNQ, right? So the question is how much juice is in the squeeze here? I have no idea. I have no idea. All right. Yeah, pretty whippy. Kaboom! All right, where is my target? That's 100 ticks. We are going to close
Order
this
filled.
position. And let's go over here in the ES. And what do we got? Uh, 3 points. I don't know. I should let it run. I've got to close this one though. We'll let it come into this edge. Maybe it'll flatten me out. All right, so let's see what we've got. Chit chat here.
Order filled.
Do you think we can short an MNQ at this area? All right, so let's answer that question. All right, let's go back to the MNQ. So here's the question. Can we short this because it's close to the area we had on Friday? Yes, it went long. If you recall, I had a stop buy on both of my instruments. If it broke the high, because momentum was up, because trend was up, because my super trend allowed me to have a breakout, all of it told me that I could have a buy stop there and go long. Okay, so please show me the Oh, I think I did that. Didn't I show you the style setting? Choose, scrub it, and go rewind and stop and look, and you can see. Okay, so I don't like the idea of shorting up here, and here's why. Let's compare, all right? When you set up a trade and you go, where can I win? The winning comes in defining the edge. How do you define an edge? You define an edge with strength of trend and strength of momentum. That said, you could easily short a new high, but two things happen. One, if you're wrong, you have to immediately get out. So maybe you give yourself a 4-tick stop. What happens then is that you potentially overtrade in a formation that doesn't give you a real edge. So I would say no, don't do that. The dips are still buy zones here. Here's how you tell when a chart is going to turn over. It doesn't matter what candlestick size you use, it's always the same. First, it stops heading higher. This is for a rollback down. First thing, stops heading higher. Second thing, it breaks the line of support established by 2 to 3 candles to the left. I like to use 3 candles to the left some days. I like to use 2 candles to the left some days. It depends on how steep the trend is. The moment it breaks that edge, you want to watch for a bounce that gives you a lower high. Notice, if it doesn't break the edge, the trade's not engaged because it tells you buyers are still coming from underneath. But if it does break the edge, like it did with this first candle, it's telling you wait for the higher low, let it fail, and the first bounce that it comes into that old congestion zone, that's where you take the short. Now, does that require a fair bit of patience? Yes. Can you develop edge like that? Yes. You can't just take a short in an area simply because it was a short a while ago. That doesn't define edge for you at all. Not at all. No, that's not true, but then the trade already happened. Here's the thing. If I take this trade short, it runs for 400 ticks. If I sit in the trade, as long as it doesn't break my old area of resistance. It's not that the trade already happened. Learn to think about a longer term event that will allow you to capitalize on bigger money. If you want to say, if you say to yourself, hey, I think the trade's already done, go to a 1 minute. You can do exactly the same thing. Notice, if you've got a short here, if you say to yourself, hey, I'm shorting the high of this 1 minute candlestick, or I'm going to short the open, you can do it. You absolutely can. The risk is much higher if you do it time after time after time. Here's why. Unless you immediately get short here, right? If you look at it and you go, bang, I'm in, and it fades, the most likely place for it to come into is going to be your super trend support, right? So that might make a really nice trade. But if you're quick thinking and you can do it, but when it gets to here, or it does not touch your super trend line, it tells you price action is going to go up in general, right? I can't trade a 1 minute because my brain does not work fast enough to do that. I know where I'm good and I know where I suck. And that's where I suck. All right, we are coming into that hourly formation. If you guys want to set those up for yourself as you go through the evening. Wow, the 30-minute was almost the same size as that hourly. That's very interesting. Side action, I'm very glad I closed my ES. Why? Because it's right back in the range. Right back in the range. And I'm okay with that. Could it break out again? Yep, it sure could, but you can use that easily and give yourself upside pressure into the next space or downside pressure. A lot of people want to jump the gun and say, "Hey, I'm up over the top of my opening range candlestick. I'm going long." But the risk is going to be the bottom of that opening candlestick range. And that always feels like too much for me. Always. I always feel like I don't have enough there. So I would say, allow yourself the opportunity to wait for the pullback under this particular formation. At least I have that correct. Most of us suck at knowing. Yeah, I mean, I am definitely not the sharpest knife in the drawer, I can tell you that. And if I can learn to trade, everybody can learn to trade. It's just about learning how to manage risk. And I study a lot. So if you learn to manage risk, I thought introducing the super trend to everybody, and it's a great tool on Topstep X. It's one more way for something systematic or strategic to give you ideas on where your stop ought to be, how you ought to walk it up over time, whether you're trading 15 minutes or whatever. If we pull back to 22,810 or a bit lower, I'll probably do too long. Well, good luck. All right, I'll check that out. Last thing, gold. I just want you to manage your risk. That's all. Yeah, take a look at that, right? But at the end of the day, this is why I like to use the hourly candlestick, right? The hourly candlestick gives me my range event, right? It swept the move, came back up. See, I don't know where this is going. People want to buy this bottom. Certainly the option traders that sold this put on Friday, they want this bottom to hold. So I would be looking for short action up at the top of the expected move. That's what I'd be looking for. All right, everybody. Thank you. How do you get your super trend step? I'll show you. Super trend style. See this little box here? Step with diamonds is what I choose. Andrew, thanks for lifting the heavy load. Always appreciate you. Is there a video in Discord or YouTube to explain super trend? No, not that I know of, but I mean, I probably know where I could find one, and I will put it in the Coach Anne Marie room, and we'll get it done that way. All right. Thank you so much. I will, wow. I will, thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate each of you so much. You take care. Be cautious. Manage your risk. You go down to your small time frame. Remember how to read that super trend. It's always relative to big trend. The markers of where you can move down your support targets to as you can learn to trade longer and longer with a cycle. All right, take care, everybody. See you soon.